This episode is brought to you by JT Clothiers. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Hennings, and this is Forces of Character podcast. You know, I'm excited every week for our guests to come on, but I'm especially excited because this is a guy who we came into the league together, into the Dallas Cowboys as rookies. He went on to be a 4-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, leading tackler for the Dallas Cowboys, 12-year career, Ring of Honor inductee, has gone on now to transition to starting his own technology company and being the managing director for Cresa, Dallas's local office, commercial real estate office here. None other than my good friend and teammate, Darren Woodson. So Darren, thank you for being on.
Yeah, you actually call me a good friend. I mean, usually talking bad about me or cussing me out or pushing me around. Like you call me a good friend, a dear friend. It was
Nice.
listening to you.
Just wanted to go how many
ways.
coverage sacks that you helped us all get up front, man. So I appreciate that. I totally appreciate that. But, but thanks for being on here.
Yeah.
We just really want to dive in. I want to learn more about you, kind of mindset, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And let's just start from the beginning, growing up.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your upbringing, early influences in your life and kind of what your early life was like.
So grew up in Phoenix, west side of Phoenix, Arizona. My mother was a single mom, 4 kids. I was the youngest of 4. My father my mother never married my father. And I was the younger of 2. So my mom was married beforehand, had 2 kids. This was my older brother and sister, and then 2 more with my father, and that's myself and my brother Todd. Myself being the youngest, but my dad wasn't in my life on a day-to-day basis at all. Like we would be on the bus going to school, and there was this road called Buckeye Road, and I'd see my dad rolling dice on the side of the road, going to school sometimes. And he had a job, but he also loved the streets as well. So my mom was the one from day to day that kept food on the table, worked 2 jobs. I remember my mother waking up at 5:30 in the morning, going to her first job at Maricopa County. She worked there for 38 years. And then her second job was in the evening, and she usually got there about 5 o'clock and worked until 11 o'clock. So that was me growing up. And, the way my mom kept us off the street is that she basically enlisted my sister, who's 7 years older than me, Monica, to run the house. So my sister was grown at an early age, at 12, 13, and was basically running the house, making dinner, making sure we got to school on time, making sure we got up for breakfast. I'm serious, man. My sister basically raised me along with my mother.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So that was a little bit of our, and here's the thing, Chad, I think the one thing I've always talked about is having a process in your life. So my mom had this process. Like, she put processes in place for us. So basically she enlisted my sister Monica. You're going to run the day-to-days. So you're going to get your brothers up for in the morning. You're going to make them oatmeal. I can't even look at oatmeal today. I can't. Every day of my life was oatmeal in the morning, right? So she made oatmeal for us, got us on the bus. We all had to get on the bus. The rule was, my mother used to always say, there is no after-school programming at the school. After you get out of class, that bell rings, you get your butt back on the bus. The bus used to drop us off at the church, right down the street from the house. We had an after-school program at the church. And then from there was a YMCA, which was in walking distance. We'd go to the YMCA, and then after about 6 o'clock, we all had to come back, and my sister would make a dinner, and then there goes the process. So we all kind of knew what we had to do, and she did it for a reason. She did it to keep us off the streets. That was the main reason why she set up these processes. And if you broke the rules, you paid for it, right? But I never thought about it that way, of why we had to go why it was so military-like, why we did this and why we did that. But the obvious reason was we grew up in a crime-infested area. Crack cocaine was huge on the street in that time, in those 80s when I was growing up. And that was her way of keeping us safe, away from the gangs. And then we played sports.
And I think that's a great point, is kids do crave boundaries,
Yes.
rules, process, to your point. It's structure in life. I think we all, as human beings, crave that in some
Absolutely.
portion, passion. So when did athletics start to become a part of your life?
At a young age, my brothers both played football, basketball, and baseball, and those were the three sports that we knew. So it was, if the ball rolled, we played it, right? And it was usually an everyday process of just going over to the YMCA. And I'm telling you, to this day, the Y was huge early.
Is that a Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, yes, it's like a boy, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, but it was like that place which you could go in, play ping pong. To this day, I'm pretty good at ping pong because of the Y, right? I'm pretty good, not great, but it was just a place that you could, play sports, play basketball. They had a little small field on the outside. You could, we'd play football or whatnot. And, back then it was, you get everybody together on a weekend, and everybody would play. Boys, girls, everything would go out there on the field and play. And I realized then, being the youngest, I kind of cut my teeth with my older brothers who used to beat me up all the time. And being the youngest, I was pretty good. And I knew I was good when I played against kids that were my own age. I just always felt like I just had this innate feeling of, well, if I can deal with my brother my brother Todd, who's 3 years older than me, who runs me over all the time, I know I can deal with you, right? So
that's awesome.
So I had this confidence. I had a really strong confidence in my abilities in every sport at a young age. I didn't feel the same way academically. Academically I never felt comfortable in my skin academically until later on in life.
What's commonalities between us? I had an older brother named Todd too.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Used to thump you a little bit. Oh, yeah.
But I give him a lot of credit as to my athletic abilities, and my drive to succeed was to compete with him, to be, better him. High school coaches, who were your impact mentors, guys that started to seed into you? Any relationships early in life, or teammates?
Yeah, I think there was a guy named Mr. McGuire, a teacher, my sixth grade teacher. His name was Mr. McGuire. And I just mentioned earlier about academically how I never felt comfortable in my skin. Well, Mr. McGuire noticed early on when he would make us read, and it would go from one kid to the next, and the next kid would, and every time he would look at me, he knew I was squeamish, like, oh man, I hope he doesn't call on me today. I hope he doesn't call, and he would call on me all the time. And you gotta know Mr. McGuire. Mr. McGuire was a Marine, and the school was predominantly African American and Hispanic, and he was probably one of 6 or 7 teachers in the entire school that was white. And he was the most respected person in the school because he carried what we call the idiot stick. And back then, you could spank kids. You could give them swats. And I don't know if you remember those days, right? And those days are gone. But back then, he used to, teachers could spank you with whatever it is if you got out of line. And he had this stick, he called it was a big paddle, and he used to hang in his closet. And I'm telling you, you open the closet and he'd just hang there, and he called it the idiot stick. That's Mr. McGuire, tough as nails. And every time he opened the door, before he opened the door, so if you opened the door out into those schools back then, the kids would be walking by and the door would open up, outwardly. He would hit the door, boom, kick the door to make sure nobody was standing there, open the door. I can remember these things, right? But here's Mr. McGuire. Mr. McGuire knew that I had a problem on the reading side. He made me show up for 6 straight months throughout the entire school year at 6:30 a.m. I had to get there early to sit there and read with him. And this man showed up. Man, it's cool. This man showed up every single day. Matter of fact, he'd be sitting there waiting on me with his coffee, and I walked around, and I better not be late. Like, I learned. And now, at a young age, when I was in 6th grade, about time. Because there was he used to always say that this meeting starts when I show up. And that carried on into our years when we were in the NFL. And 13 years, you got it wrong. 13 years in the NFL, I have never been late for a meeting. Ever. because that man started way back then. So if I had someone to go back to say, you know, who was probably one of the biggest difference maker outside of my mom in my life, I would say it was Mr. McGuire, because he was tough on me, and he used to always say, "Wait, when I stop yelling at you, I've given up on you." He's always say, "Woodson, when I stop yelling at you, I've given up on you."
Have you ever had the opportunity to go back and
we
chat with
talked.
him and thank him?
He passed away, gosh, it's probably been 15, 20 years ago. And I can't tell you how many people were at that. There were more African American people at that funeral than there were. And I'm just saying, because there were so many people that at the time I didn't know that most of the people that I was around that weren't doing anything couldn't stand Mr. McGuire. But then as time went on, I mean, you kind of remember the people that cared about you, that were tough on you and gave you boundaries and pushed you to the next level. There's so many people that came back and are like, yeah, I didn't respect it at the time, but man, he's different. He was a different person.
You know, and that just relays on to, you know, from parenting to leading the next generation, mentoring. It's not being easy on someone. It's not being their best friend.
That's right. You can't
it's challenging them, rules, regulations, boundaries.
Yes.
But you knew he cared.
You knew he cared.
You knew he cared. And he put forth the effort, the time, because he was there to do it, and consistency.
But that's when I started. I mean, as far as academically, even when I got into high school, academically, it was never, I knew I could do the work. I was lazy, even after Mr. McGuire. But one thing I did learn from him was knowledge. Like, the key was knowledge and wisdom. Gain it. Just continue to seek it and find it. You know, and he always put these little, I had no idea, but these little scriptures in. Like, he was coming from a background of scripture, and he was very adamant about his faith and his belief. And he'd tell everybody about his faith and belief, but he would put plant these little seeds within me where I didn't even know where they were coming from. But knowledge, wisdom, well, that's scripture. Every day in Solomon talks, hey, what do I want? Knowledge and wisdom, right? So there is these little nuggets that he would put in there in teaching me that came from a foundation of his life, his biblical life.
You know, that's awesome. It's also a reminder that there are those who till the soil, those who plant the seed, those who water, those who weed, and those who harvest. And you all play a part, but you don't know how it's all going to end.
That's right. Yeah,
in the end.
So true.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Arizona State, on to college. Mm-hmm. Why'd you stay local?
Because I didn't know what I was doing in high school, and I was a kid that academically, I didn't give up academically. I just felt like if I could go back to my high school years, it was full of pride and ego. Like, I was a really good athlete, and that's what I always felt like that was going to get me to the next level. It wasn't until my junior year in high school, and I was getting recruited by everyone in the Pac. Back then it was a Pac-10, and I always thought I knew I was going to go play somewhere. I knew I was going to play at Washington or Arizona State or Arizona, USC. I knew I was going somewhere to play football. And I remember a guy named Don Bakke at Arizona State, and he was the recruiting coordinator for the Sun Devils. He came to the school and he said, "Hey man, you need to get your grades right. You need to get your grades, because you're going to take that ACT test, and back then it had to pull your grades up. Your grades were low, then that ACT had to pull your grades up, or the SAT had to pull them up, right? And they had to be level out." Well, anyway, I said, yeah, I'll be fine. So I was just thinking, I'll do well on the ACT. I didn't do that well on the ACT. I did okay. I didn't do great, and it didn't pull my level up. So I was a Prop 48 my first year in college, and the Prop 48 was a person that was basically, you could show up, all you could do was formally just come in every day and focus on your academics. I couldn't go to the practice facility. I couldn't go to a game. I couldn't do anything that was football related or sports related with the program. My first year, all I could do was be a student. And that was life-changing for me, man. Of all the things that I've gone through in my life, that was probably the most life-changing experience that I ever had.
Very humbling, huh?
It was a humbling experience. I had so many people that I played with that were at Arizona State, or played against that were at Arizona State. The kids that there's some of the students that were at Arizona State was like, what are you doing? And it was that moniker, that same thought process of always a dumb athlete. And I'm telling you, man, that burned me for a year. Like, he's just a dumb athlete. He couldn't figure it out, blah, blah, blah. I heard the whispers. I heard the guys that I was going to come in the next year and play with, like, yeah, he ain't smart enough to be on the field. And I knew I was. Like, I knew I was much better than that. I was lazy. So that first year, man, I got a 3.0. And I was like, I wasn't burning up the books. I just paid attention. But it was in that first year that I realized not only did I have this chip on my shoulder after hearing all the negativity, but I also figured out, like, there was more in life than just football. So all I knew, Chad, was since I was 7 years old, I played football, basketball, and baseball. That's all I knew. I never missed a season, right? Even up in high school, I didn't miss a season until that year. And my focus was always sports. That's all it was. There was nothing else. There wasn't real estate or, manufacturing or anything industrial. I didn't know what other people did. And in that first year, I learned just from meeting regular students what their parents did. I would go see, visit people's houses that were local in the area. And I'm like, man, I lived on the west side of town. I never knew where Scottsdale was. First time seeing Scottsdale, 20 minutes away. It's like, it opened my eyes to life. And the experiences that I had in that first year really, I think the experiences that I had in my first year in college allowed me to be where I am today. Because even when I was playing football, I was thinking about, this is not going to last forever. There are other things that are out there.
Turned on.
Oh, yeah. Light bulb turned on my freshman year in college.
For over 50 years, JT Clothiers has been a respected family-owned clothing store for men and ladies in Denton, Texas. Whether you're looking for the perfect suit, an elegant top, or unique accessories, JT's offers a personalized shopping experience. The staff not only remembers your name, but also takes the time to understand your style, ensuring you always walk out with something you love. JT Clothiers carries world-class brands from around the globe, bringing you the best in fashion from far and wide. Whether you're shopping for work, play, or something in between, they got you covered. Conveniently located on the corner of Oak and Elm in historic downtown Denton, JT Clothiers is a must-visit destination. Stop by, support local, and let them know you came from Forces of Character podcast to receive 10% off your first purchase. Head over to JT Clothiers today, where timeless style meets personalized service. I mean, if you have the opportunity now and to talk with kids, having the experience that you have now, you hit on so many great points. Like kids that were in your situation, and a lot of kids, I'm going to be the next greatest athlete. I'm going to do this, but then you realize that there's got to be more to that. Particularly even if you make it to the NFL, not for long, right?
Right.
What are you going to do for the rest of your 40 years, 50 years of your work career, whatnot? So, awesome stuff. Who, other influences at ASU from coaches, from players, guys that planted seeds in your life that demonstrated?
Man, there were so many. I mentioned Don Bakke early on. Don Bakke was the recruiting coordinator for the Sun Devils, and he used to show up at school. And it was, I was at a school where you may not remember Felipe Sparks. Felipe played with the Giants, right? Yeah. So a guy named Frank Garcia. We had multiple guys that actually played in the NFL that were at that school, but Felipe and I were in the same boat. We were both Prop 48s coming out. And that says a lot. I mean, that's saying a lot about, that school. Good talent, but academically we just weren't focused, right? But Don Bakke used to show up every day in that hallway and talk to me about what I'm doing academically. This is my senior year, that you're going to be a prop. I know you're going to be a prop. You're not going to get your grades right. We have the process that we can put in place for you.
There you go again.
There's the process, right? Put in place for you that can, and that's the reason I had options to go to other schools to be a prop, but I just felt like there was something. This man poured into me, man. This guy in Don Bakke, yeah, I know he was doing a job, but he also, I mean, I met his parents. I mean, I met his wife and his kids at a young age. It was more than just that. And even my first year, even though when I committed to Arizona State, I was a Prop 48, I met with Bakke every Thursday and Friday that entire year. And I can't tell you how many times I cried in front of Bakke because I was so mad. I was so mad, so frustrated about the situation I was in my first year. And he just used to sit there and listen to me, man.
So with that, was it an aspect of your frustration of you finally realizing that you have to own it?
Absolutely.
That
I had to
regret
own
for
it.
not.
Yeah, this was no one else's fault because I went through the whole blame game.
Yeah.
School didn't do this. No one held me accountable. This and that, and it was no one's fault but mine. It was all on me. This wasn't a teacher problem. Look, I mean, we use these excuses. Well, the school's not good enough. The teachers don't care about us. That's a you problem. I mean, if there's things, I'm a firm believer. If you can control the situation, if you want to complain, but you know you can control the situation, that's on you. Like, I can't control oxygen, right? Oxygen it exists. I can't control. I can't do anything. But there's certain things in my life that I can control. So I better not be complaining about them because I have the ability to make the change. And that was me in college. In high school, I had all the ability to make the change. I just didn't do it. I didn't make the sacrifice.
You know, that's right. I go back, you're just reminiscing about what I would tell my kids growing up. At some point in time, you're going to own it.
You got to own it.
It's on you.
Yeah.
It's not me telling you what to do. It's not the process. You're going to have to develop these skills and tools and own it. You are who you are.
But you know what, Chad? I would say this. I think that even as an adult right now, like my biggest enemy and the person who's held me back the most in life has just been me. It's been me. I'm so serious about that. Like the battle is not outside. The battle is within. If I want to work out in the morning, well, I got to get up at 4 because I know at 7:30 in the morning I got to be at the office, right? So I'm complaining the whole time. Well, I couldn't get that work in. Yeah, I could. Get up earlier, go to sleep earlier, get your workout in earlier, and then go to the office, right? So there's nothing that's holding me back but myself. I have to make the sacrifice of going to sleep early the day before, and it applies to not only to myself, but I'm having these same conversations with my sons the same way you have with your kids. You got to own it. This is nobody else's problem but yourself. If you want it, you better go hunt it down and figure it out and get it done.
You know, we'll transition a little bit into mindset here in a second, but in my book, Forces of Character here, one of the individuals that I had a conversation with was Dr. Edie Eger. She was a survivor of Auschwitz as a young teenage girl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember her she told the story about on the cattle car from where her home country to Hungary, going to Auschwitz, you know, crowded in there, and her mother, it was just her mother and her sister. And her mother kind of held her face in her hands and said, Edie, we're not sure where we're going. We're not sure what's going to happen to us, but always remember, they can never take away from you what you think up here. You are who you are, the power of mindset. Mm-hmm. And man, that's just stuck with me from then on. Yeah. And that is so true. And you're a living example of that. You took ownership in that, and I can be who I choose to be, but I have to put forth the effort. It's not just words.
And it's a battle, man. It's not easy. I mean, I lose, and I think one of the great things that we have, and I know we're transitioning here, but I think one of the great lessons in life that I've had, and I'm sure you and my teammates and guys that play in the NFL is the fact that we've had to deal with a lot, right? Now, it's not a life and death still. I'm not comparing this to what goes on militarily and our soldiers that protect us, but I'm saying for ourselves in our little bubble world called the NFL, like every day the film is on you. Every day that coach is critiquing you. The eye in the sky does not lie. And we've heard that for many years, but like I'm built for this. You're built for success, right? We are formally built that way because every day that film, they're watching you on film, and the coach is sitting there with the little clicker, and he's clicking every little step that you take, where your hand placement is, and he's criticizing you, and you get your butt kicked, and you win a battle, and they pat you on the back, and then they criticize you. I mean, the film does not lie. It just doesn't, right? So you're dealing with that criticism. You're also dealing with the media criticism. You're dealing with the fan criticism. You're dealing with your own family who will criticize you. Man, you missed 3 tackles that were just wide. My brother Todd kills me about the fact that in the Super Bowl, that was the worst game you ever played in '95. Like, I hear, like, the criticism is real. It is real. And we always, the next day, what do the next day? You forget about what happened, and you step on the gas, and you accelerate, and you keep on going. You just do. We're built that way, right? So what difference is that? What's the change from me making that transition from the NFL to regular corporate America? There's no change. You put your foot on the damn gas pedal, and you go. You forget about your losses. You got your face kicked in. Now you move forward, and you keep on going.
I always strive to look for similarities between, occupations, different lifestyles, et cetera. You've described very well the life of a fighter pilot. People have asked me many times, what are the similarities between the two? You talk about mindset that, going through pilot training, your instructor pilot would rip you up and down. You're evaluating bomb film. You're too fast going down the chute. You pickled too late. In practice, it was the aspect of whether flying a training mission or a combat mission, it was brief the mission, execute, debrief. Practice. This is what we're going to do.
Right.
This is the game plan. Go out and practice, and then debrief, film analysis, and study.
Yeah.
Transition across the board, but that is, again, a process that can be implemented in multiple occupations, whatever career paths, and maybe we'll get a little bit of that when we talk about now in corporate America, Cresa, application of some of those same techniques. But what was it like for you, mindset-wise? You're starting to feel good about yourself. You're starting that philosophy on life is starting to expand a little bit, realizing it's more than just being a good athlete. You have to put the time, effort into it. So that transition to being a rookie, then in the NFL, and not just a rookie, but in the NFL, but a rookie for the Dallas Cowboys. Right. For our rookie year, we won Super Bowl that year, and they were expected you to play. So what was that transition like for you?
It was tough. My first year was tough, and it was a humbling experience for me because I came into the league, and I had made the transition from linebacker in college to the safety position. And, in being completely honest and fully transparent here, I had a pride. My life has been a pride issue. Like, there's a lot of me that in my life that I had to overcome myself, right? My first year in the NFL, I wasn't named starter, and I firmly believe that I should have been a starter. Like, I firmly, in my heart of hearts, I used to show up every day, and we would do one-on-ones, and I would just sit there and just burn. Like, how is it that I'm not the starter? To the point that one day, Jimmy Johnson, Dave Campbell, who was my position coach, walked up and he's like, "Why are you always in a bad mood and you don't want to talk and this and that?" And I'm like, "Man, I should be starting. I should be starting, blah, blah, blah." "Oh, you think you should be a starter?" I say, "Absolutely." Because they played me in the nickel. I was a nickel guy, right? Yeah. And then I ran down on special teams. And Campbell had all these, "Hey, look, you're not a starter, but you play a lot. You're still playing a lot, and you're still growing. You're not ready." And he was right. Yeah. Mentally, I wasn't ready, but my ego was so big. Like, I want to be named a starter. I want to walk out, and when they say our names, I'll run out and I'm a starter, right? That's where my 21, 22-year-old mind was back then. So Campo ended up saying something to Jimmy, and then Jimmy came to me one day, and it was actually at practice. He said, "You think you should be a starter, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." So he logged it, and he was like, "Hey, you got to keep fighting for your job, and you keep doing what you're doing, and one day you will be a starter." He said, "But I don't want you moping around here and crying about this. Like, you be a team player, right?" So it was a real casual conversation. And then one day that same day, we're in the meeting room. So we have practice, and then we go into the meeting room after practice. And I remember the lights are off, and I'm sitting there, and we're watching film of the practice, and all the defensive backs are in the room. And Jimmy hits the light, walks in, hits the lights. He goes, "Hey, Woodson." You still think you're better than everybody and you should be a starter? Right in front of the whole team. I'm talking Thomas Everett, James Washington, Ray Horton, all these veteran guys, and he just put me on the spot, dude. I mean, Chad, you talk about being put on the spot. And I just said, he just got quiet, and I remember everybody looking at me, and I was like, hell yeah. And he says, all right, turn off the lights, close the door, and walked off.
Oh, man.
Oh, you're talking about, all the things that came my way that day. Like, oh, really? Like, I got all the oh, reallys. And, oh, yeah, it was.
You can.
Yeah.
I wish you had had Charles.
Oh, I know.
With you. I don't know if you'd have survived that one.
Charles, you, Tolbert. No, I would have survived. Yeah.
No. But, man, as rookies together, I always remember you phenomenal work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
You're a great teammate in the locker room. You just alluded to Jimmy. You talked about some of your position, our players at your position. Who were some of the other teammates, coaches? One in particular that I want to talk about too. But who had an influence on you early, your rookie year?
Rookie year, Campo for sure. Dave Campo taught me football from going from a linebacker to the safety position. No, hands down. Dave Campo, my first year, taught me how to be a safety, and he did it the right way. Like, if I can go back and thank God he didn't just throw me out there, because I would have been a mess. Like, I needed to learn that position. So Campo for one, and Campo was the one who actually went and watched me run and work out at Arizona State. He had a big part of me being drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he took a flyer on me. And I was a tweener. I was a guy playing linebacker and moving to safety. So Campo for sure initially. Mike Zimmer taught me, basically Mike Zimmer came in, I think it was my third year in the league, he came in and he brought something else to the table. And that was like tap into your greatness. Like you're the best safety in the league. Like he spoke to me differently. Like you talk about a booster. Oh, he was, hey, y'all, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Like, I could hear him all the time. Like, man, you can do this, you can do that. They can't do this, you blah, blah, blah. And he's just this confidence that, and want to, like, I want it to be the best. Not only just for the team, but individually, I wanted to be different. And he was motivating me in that, and not only motivating me in that way as far as on the field, but being a leader, becoming a true leader within the locker room, like being more than just a football player. So Zimmer was awesome, and I can't tell you. I mean, all the players, man, everyone. Those years they're made up of some different characters, man. We had some characters on that team. James Washington and Thomas Everett, man. I can't tell. I mean, yeah, I thought I should have been playing, but they were like teaching me how to study, and prepare for a game. I mean. Yeah, I know James Washington gets a lot of heat of, how he was. We used to call him drive-by, and but man, you talk about studying and preparing and the intelligence, like the football IQ. Ray Horton, another one, man, there were so many guys early on that really framed and molded me because they took me under their wing. They really did. They took me under their wing and taught me the game of football. And then I would say, one of the guys that, like to this day, man, he and I came in together, Kevin Smith, man, Pup and Larry Brown. Like I didn't know, I would just use my athleticism to cover people one-on-one, which has always been my what everyone always really knows me for is I was like one of the first safeties that could cover the slot receiver and all. But they taught me how to do it. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, Kevin Smith and I roomed together for 9 years, and we would be up at 9 o'clock, and he'd be like, "Hey, look, don't get too close, or you're smothering yourself, or back off a little bit." Fake. He would just coach me over and over again about press technique. I mean, it was continuous. Like our conversations were, we talked trash to each other, and he'd say, "Hey, well, I was watching you on film today, dude. He ran by you because you were like the littlest things."
That's cool.
About coverages.
You know, I've often said before that my experience, I truly believe that I've never been around a group of guys that were more selfless.
Yeah.
They're all their pursuit of excellence individually, but that was subverted or was underneath the aspect of who we are, excellence as a team. You know, Michael wanted the ball. You know, of course, Emmett wanted the ball to run, but it was all about winning games, not just games, but Super Bowls.
Yeah.
There's definitely a special group of guys, but you know, what made that team, I think, in comparison to either teams today or even teams then that may have just as much talent. But what was that in that locker room? You kind of were alluding to it a little bit before. A special group of guys. What was that
I think it was
that made it special? In your opinion,
I think there's two things. I think one being Jimmy. Jimmy knew how to get as many alpha dogs in the room and then control the room. Because he had nothing but alpha dogs.
Yeah, you know, it was that Animal Farm, George Orwell. All animals are created equal. Some are more equal than others.
Yeah, and not only that, but he would tell you, hey, I'm not going to treat, if you, Darren, you walk in, you're a rookie and you're a special teams player, that's one thing. I might cut you. If Troy Aikman walks into this meeting room, I'm not going to treat him equally. He's going to play this Sunday. So I'm not treating everybody the same. So you figure out where you fall in on the pecking order, right?
You know, that's where stories. I just want to digress some comedy. We're not going to mention names, but individuals that Jimmy, I call fire for effect, field artillery in the Army.
Correct.
Jamie would cut a guy out in the open, to create that sense of
we were in the same
meeting. Fear.
We were in the same meeting when the young man fell asleep.
Special teams
Yes,
meeting.
we were in the same special teams meeting when he fell asleep, and he used it as a time to say, I'm going to show you what happens when you fall asleep in a meeting, right? So, but that was Jimmy, and I think he ruled by fear at times. Like there was times where you just knew, like, man, I make these mistakes. And I have so many Jimmy stories. Jimmy being the guy that was tough on you, would rail you at times when you weren't, playing well. But I remember giving up a touchdown. We were watching film, and I can't remember the team, but we were watching film, and they had the same thing. We used to always play a lot of tendencies, right? 2 receivers, back offset, and I was covering the slot receiver. It was a 2-minute drill, and all week long we saw this formation. We practiced it. We watched it on film, the whole nine, and we're sitting there, and it comes up in the game, and I remember Larry Brown looks at me and he says, "Hey, here's the set." He can see the formation, right? So I'm thinking, I know what this guy is going to run. He's going to run that deep 4 route, and a dig, and in my mind, I just jump it. I'm just going to jump it because I know I've been watching this all week long. They never do anything else out of this formation, right? Formation runs, the guy runs a pump. He dig, and then he goes, right? I jump the dig, touchdown. I get to the sideline, and I'm sitting there, and I can see Jimmy from, first of all, Campbell's in my ear, yelling and screaming at me, right? And then I'm seeing Jimmy, and he's coming closer and closer and closer. And I'm like, man, I know this is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, I just braced myself. And I look up, and Jimmy says, "Hey, the back was offset, 2 guys there, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You jumped it, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You go be a football player. That's why you're here. Be a football player." And that, to me, was, like, I didn't know Jimmy. I wasn't that, I was more afraid of Jimmy than anything, being a young player. But you talk about confidence builder. You talk about a confidence builder. Like, he didn't rail me. He just said, "You know what? I was watching the same thing you were watching all week. You jumped the route." And he gave you a double move, and hey, you got to live with that.
And that's where he always talked about, too. Don't play with scared money.
Don't play with scared money, boo. You can't play scared, yeah. So he was very instrumental. So I'll say that, and then I'll say this about the team. You hit it on the head. Guys, I think we were in a point in our lives and in that time period where we understood the moment. I think we really understood the moment. I think when you had guys like Troy and Michael Irvin and Emmett, not only just the triplets, but on our side of the ball, the Tony Tolberts and the Charles Haleys, yourself, the Russell Marylands, like, we knew we had the talent and we had the time to be great. I think we were in the moment. Like, I just used to go into games. I didn't care who we were playing.
Yeah, we're gonna win.
We're better than you.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Going to San Francisco, we're going to beat you. It just depends on how much we're going to beat you by, but we're going to beat you. Like, I mean, there was this confidence in self because we practiced that way.
Yeah.
Chad, every day, our practices were harder than the games.
That's right. Exactly. John Giesick always
Yeah.
talks about that. The games were a day off.
Oh, day
for us.
off, man. We used to love game day.
Yeah. One of the things, and I think this can make a great transition regarding the leadership at the helm, the CEO. We had, for me, if I go back even being drafted by Tom Landry, but all the coaches that we had through Chan Gailey, Dave Campbell, I mean, you had Parcells and you went on. But in your career, you probably had 6, 7 head coaches. Every couple of years, change at the helm.
Yeah, yeah.
We were very fortunate, I think, to do 3 and 4 years with 2 coaches. But, that leadership style, I know you've probably been asked this question as much as I have. The differences in the leadership style with the coaches. Why were we a success and why did we kind of drop off in that aspect? And I'll just let you run with that one.
Yeah,
where you want.
I firmly, look, I think things were changing as well. We had free agency that was coming into play as well, right? But I also think that, people don't realize how good of a drafter Jimmy Johnson was. Like he and his team did an excellent job of drafting late, like the Eric Williams from Emporia States.
Well, that was Leon Letts.
That's Leon Letts. Yeah. Leon Letts, the
Ohio U from Big E.
Yeah, he late in the 4th, 5th round, those guys are making impacts on a team. He also firmly believed, in which you got to attribute this to Jimmy. Our special teams units and Joe Avazano were
even as starters, we had to play special teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The starters ran down on punt team, kickoff team. Yeah, right next to you. Right? So that's where Jimmy was really, really good. And I think that goes unnoticed. Everybody thinks about Jimmy just being the X's and O's guy and being able to pull the strings, but Jimmy was very good assessing talent. And then, basically monetizing that talent, and then going out and letting you know and firmly let you believe and understand that there are 3 phases to this game, and we need to win all 3 phases of the game. So,
amen. I just, for a little levity's sake here, it's time, Darren. It's time to talk about who's faster in the 40.
Oh, go ahead, give it to me, man. You know what, Chad? This is
your pick 6. I got videotape to prove it, man. I got videotape to prove it.
I was tired. That was a long drive down the field, Chad.
How many pick 6s have you had in your career?
I had 2. Well, I've had 3, but then 2. One got called back. Well, 2.
And I actually owe you props. Arizona, when we played the Cardinals in Arizona, your old Tempe Stadium, we did a run blitz. You hit him.
And who scored a touchdown?
I got to score the touchdown.
I should have tackled you.
See,
I should have tackled you.
That's payback.
I should have just slapped your leg.
But I only had to go about 10 yards, so that was all. But I teased Darren a lot about, there's a film of us running down tandem. He was pulling ahead of me a little bit there at the end. But
this. I can't tell you how. I had a client of mine, actually, at Cresa, commercial real estate. We had a client of mine that heard you on a show, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard Hennings just ran right by you," and I was like, "What? I can't believe this." But when you turn the film on, you're like, "Yeah, he did get there before I did." So
we kept. But no, back to it, man. X marks the box. I got that filled there. But, over the years, I want to talk about your personal leadership style and characters and individuals coming into the league. From when we came in '92 to then when after you're in the 2000, when you get, the guys change in the locker room.
Yeah.
The players. Talk a little bit about that and how your communication style and did it change in being that leader in the locker room?
Look, I think what I tried to do later on, and when I was playing in those days where we had so much success earlier, and then later on I was still a leader, and the team had changed and coaches had changed and all. I just wanted to be consistent. Like, I wanted the players to see me consistently be that person. Show up on time, watch extra film, If I say it, then I'm doing it. Like, you don't have to worry about it. If it's going to come out of my mouth, you know that I'm practicing these things, right? And just show, like, I think most guys that come in the league, similar to how I came in the league, I used to, if you want to be successful, you watch successful people. Just watch successful people. Hang around. You know, you don't take financial advice from broke people, do you? You just don't. But if you want success, watch. So I came in the league watching, I mean, of all the people that we could sit here and talk about, when you talk about those Cowboys teams, the guy I used to watch and just watch him be a professional was Daryl Johnston. Like, I used to sit there and watch Moose and go, how's this dude do it? Like, he showed up at all the special teams meetings. He was never late, always on time, very well respected by the coaches and the players. Like, and this is my rookie year of just watching him just be a pro. And I thought, man, if I just do what I've been doing all my life, show up 10 minutes early, make sure that I, do all the little things, treat people with kindness, man, this is where I can be. And that's what, I mean, I came in as a rookie. I don't remember Daryl Johnston ever hazing me or, saying something to me any differently. And that's how I was a big believer in not hazing young guys. I just didn't.
Yeah.
One, I didn't have the time.
Yeah, or the energy.
Or the energy to do so. And two, as time went on, like, it was one thing when Jimmy was there, because Jimmy would manage the team. Our head coaches weren't managing the team, so they relied on us as players to manage more so than anything. I didn't have time to go through that because a lot of the guys that came in, I needed them on Sundays. That 20-year-old kid, our drafts used to suck. You remember these years. Like, it was 96, 97. Oh, my God, our drafts were. So anybody that came in the door, I needed to get them ready for Sunday. Didn't have time to haze and do all those things. I needed to show them how to prepare and how to play.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, reminiscent of another individual that I interviewed for my Force of Character book was Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And he told a story about he had to go live with his grandfathers, he and his younger brother, and his grandpa set him down and said, boys, if you want to know what to do in life, just watch me.
Yeah.
Not do as I say, but do as I do.
Right.
I mean, and that's, and I think kids today, particularly this generation, with the advent of social media technology, they can sift through so much information and content. It's not about this. If they really hone in on, are you doing what you say you're doing?
Yeah,
Are you,
so true.
Walking the walk?
Yeah. I tell my son, I got a 23-year-old, and he's getting into the world of real estate, and now he's in sales right now with a development company and all. But I look at him every day, and my mind just goes back to my life and all. But it's just like his mindset in today's world is, you're right, social media, it's so many different outlets that he can go down. I just tell him sometimes, I'm like, hey man, if you're like, half the kids today, they don't care. They don't take ownership in anything because they don't have to.
That's what I wanted to kind of mention.
Yeah.
Ask that aspect of, the college game today with the NIL, with the portal, free agency, basically in college. I do question sometimes toughness, dedication. To your point, the aspect of social media. What do you think if you were coming through today? It's speculation. But would you be the guy, the player, the individual, the man that you are today? If
I don't know. I don't know. And I can't. Here's the thing. It is impossible to compare us back then to where we are today in this social media led world. There's so many nuances, and it's so different. And even through that process, I don't judge these young guys because I don't know what kind of person I would have been. Yeah. Like I had my own issues that I was dealing with, right? And these young guys that are coming in right now, they come in, they go to Ohio State, they make $4 or $5 million, and then they go on to the league. Like, give me that money when I was at Arizona State, I would have been an issue. I probably would have been. Put it to you this way: if we had social media in '92, does that '92 team, are we that successful?
Yeah.
That's a
No,
question.
it is. It is.
I don't think we are. I don't know. I don't know
Because
if we
that
make
eye in the
it.
sky does not lie.
That eye in the sky. How many times were we like? It's the same thing that made us great, as far as being extremists, because we were extremists. Everybody on that team. 100%. When they practiced 100%. When they went out at night, they went out 100%. I'm not sure.
You never know. Again, yeah. Let's transition now to post-NFL. When did you know it was time to hang up the cleats?
After my 11th surgery, my second on my back, and I couldn't walk. And that was, I was trying to come back and rehab from L4, L5 surgery, and I had nerve damage down my right leg. And I had bounced back early on. I had the same surgery in '96 after the Super Bowl. I had the same L4, L5 surgery, and I bounced right back. I'm talking. I was young, and man, it took me 4 months, and I went back to training. I was at training camp practicing. Like, it just didn't bother me. And then I had it again later on, and this time I couldn't bounce back. And I couldn't walk. And I remember playing with my oldest son out in the front yard. I was going through the rehab process, and the team had went to training camp. And I had to rehab back here in Dallas, because I had hurt my back during the off-season program. So the team had went, I was back and rehabbing here, and I was playing ball with my son. I threw the ball, he threw it over my head, and I fell down. I was trying to reach the ball, and I fell down. My leg just gave out. And I think it was that time. I think that was the moment. I know that was the moment for me where I said, I just want to be able to play. I need to get healthy to play ball with my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I'm this way, I'm just going to be, I'm a tool out there on that football field. They're going to run through me. I got to, I change my mindset and figure out what's next in life. And that was the moment.
That's a great segue into the next one. Who'd you look after? Because you seem to be a very observant individual regarding making that transition. Did you solicit advice from anybody?
Yeah.
Kind of what did you do to know the next thing?
No, Britt Brown, man. Britt Brown was a trainer with the Cowboys, still there now. Him and Jim Maurer, I just sat down with them. And I had long conversations, because people, the realization is this: when you're rehabbing, the trainers are with you. You know this more. The trainers are with you every single day. They're trying to get you back healthy and get you back on the field. And I was with Britt like late nights, early in the morning. Team was practicing. I'm on the other field doing rehab, and all the rehabs after, again, I've had 10 surgeries going up to that, and whether it be hands, shoulders, I was in and out, and Britt would rehab me, and we were back on the field. And this one, I mean, there were a couple of times where I remember Britt saying, "Hey man, I just don't even want you to do anything today. I just want you to go in." And he knew, he won't admit it, but he knew earlier that, it was time. It's
Mr.
time.
Salty.
Yeah, Mr. Salty, dude. He's a realist. And I think I've always appreciated people that were just real with me. Don't hold back. Tell me the truth.
So when you knew, mindset you've taken, and this is kind of where I want to concentrate on in the remaining time that we have here. First gig ESPN.
Mm-hmm. First gig ESPN. Yeah.
Was that just kind of fell into that?
Yeah.
Or you wanted to do that?
No, I didn't.
Because, one of the things I've just noticed before we get into that, a lot of our guys and a lot of former Dallas Cowboys either do two routes. They get into broadcasting or commercial real estate.
One of the two. Yeah,
one of the two.
We ended up doing both.
We ended up doing both.
But I had some practice. We had the Hennings Woodson show that you and I had. So, hey, I had some media experience behind me. You remember?
That.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you and I had our show when we were playing. But the transition was, kind of natural. I had, Bill Parcells was my coach at the time. Coach Parcells had 3 or 4 years off from his coaching stint, did a lot of media. And he knew when I was retiring, he said, "Hey, you need to go do TV, like now, and take the year off and then come back and play next year." Because he always wanted me to come back. He's like, "Hey, you haven't missed the season. Everybody has. I had so many players that got hurt and they just needed a year off, and then they would come back." So he was holding out hope that I was just going to get healed, heal up, and the nerve would regenerate, and I'd be playing. So he basically said, "Hey, go do TV for a year." get away from the game, go do TV for you. And he had a really good connection at ESPN. My agent and had connections at Fox and all. So I was going down this path of interviewing different organizations, and ESPN is the one I chose in the end. I mean, I just felt like it was more natural for me. And we talked X's and O's.
Yeah.
You know?
Still, I mean, it's a natural transition point.
It is.
But you've always had an entrepreneurial bent.
Yeah.
You start your tech company. Was business, you felt you were always drawn to that aspect of business? Because you could have been comfortable and just stayed at ESPN and
I think it's people around me. And I keep telling, one of my mentor is a guy named George Bass, who was actually my football agent. He represented a number of players, but his day job was he was a CFO for a group called Weber and Company, and they did a lot of retail development here in this area. And I would watch them. I would go to practice, and I'd go over to see George. George was always welcome. He just taught me, like, you talk about life. And we lived in this bubble. Like in the NFL, you kind of live in this bubble of every day you do the same thing. The team wants you to do these things. They don't want you to have any outside, interest or whatnot. George was just the opposite. George is like, hey, there's a whole new world out here. I'm going to introduce you to people. He's the one that taught me when you're playing, you're your hottest. You're the prettiest girl when you're playing, right? When you get out of playing football, you're not that pretty anymore. Matter of fact, you're starting to fall, like gracefully out. So, he used to always tell me, utilize what you have in that moment. So I was networking, Chad, when I was playing. I mean, he took me to network events. A lot of people showed up for the games on the sidelines, sponsors, and I would talk to them. And then after football was over with, it was kind of an easy landing spot for me to go into commercial real estate. And also, Roger Staubach was a mentor of mine as well. So I just used the people that were in my life, that were real with me and understood, the challenges I was having, but also knew that I had the ability to transition and go do commercial real estate. Yeah. And that was George. George poured into me every day. I took an office down at his place when I was playing football. I was in the league officing with him in Weber and Company.
Yeah, that reminds me too. I would tell a lot of the young guys from a mentor standpoint that are in the league that the Dallas Cowboys are a very iconic team in the fact, but in their fan base, particularly around here in the North Texas region, if you're a former Dallas Cowboy, that, to your point, you have access. But if you were a player if you were a good guy, or you were one of those guys that got into trouble a lot, but if you got engaged, get involved with some nonprofits, do different things in the community, give back, you really can tee yourself up for success.
Yes. And if you have, here's the key, humility.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to learn and take the time to learn. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have as former players is that, everyone loved us as players, but now the transition is into another role, and you have to be able to sit down and learn, whether it's build a suits or if it's a CT, if it's a lease or what, you have to sit down and to have some humility and allow someone, maybe even younger than you, to teach you the ropes. Yeah. So that's a big part of it too.
Now, you've kind of gone from that aspect of leadership in a locker room, now leadership as managing partner with Cresa here.
Yeah.
Similarities, differences in how you lead, in how you motivate, and how you
we're much more corporate, right? So it's one thing to lead in the locker room and have direct conversations. You and I having a conversation, very direct. You're like my brother. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no like we were in the locker room for years. There's no race in the locker room. It's like you're my teammate, and you're gonna say things to me. Shut up, get over there and do this, right? And I'm like, okay, you go. So I can talk to you anyway, and you can talk to me anyway as well. And we're gonna love each other because that's what we do, right? Corporate America was kind of a challenge in that aspect, and I'll say it because I'm working with brokers on a day as a managing principal. I have to work with brokers on a day-to-day basis, right? On a day-to-day, and not only the brokers, but the admins and whatnot. And we've gotten bigger and we've grown. And there's certain things certain ways you can talk to people, and there's certain ways you cannot talk to people. I've had to sharpen my skills since I left the league because all I knew was football locker room and how to communicate there. And then when I exited, I still have the foundation of knowing, of being a really good leader and moving into the transition into the corporate world. But it's now I'm dealing with all people, not just men.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, there's a female audience, there's a male audience. It's how are we bringing this thing together? How do I show up every day and do exactly what I was doing in the NFL? I used to always say the same thing. You're not going to see me. I'm not going to ask you to do something that you haven't seen me do. That's not going to be happen. But if your goal is, whatever your goal is, we write our goals down. How do I help you reach that goal? And I don't care if I'm talking to the admin, if I'm talking to our lead broker or the lowest broker on the totem pole. How do I help you reach your goal? And can I hold you accountable? Will you allow me to hold you accountable? That's how it starts. And if they say yes, because I've had people say, well, I have an accountability partner. No. As a managing principal, how do I hold you accountable? I need to hold you accountable. Well, I already have. No, I'm not asking you that. Me holding you accountable. Are you in or not? And most say yes. Some have said no. And that's the reality. But the ones that say yes, okay, here it is.
They own it.
Oh,
Ownership.
you better own it. Here it comes.
Here it comes. Well, I want to land this plane here, and I know family's so important to you as a husband, as a father, as a member, as a brother to your teammates. And I just want to close on this question regarding aspect of identity. And for me, identity is that filter that you pass your thoughts, your words, and your experiences through that provide that meaning, purpose, and impact. Right? We talked about mindset, now identity. How would you describe your identity?
Damn, my identity. Look, man, I love God, man. I love him, man. There's no way I'm sitting here. Like, God is everything to me. It's my identity is wrapped into chasing him. Like, I'm after his heart. Same when we talk about David, I'm after his heart as well. And I say that because there's so much glory and there's so much, like, I'm going to lose. I know that, but I know one thing. The one thing I do know, if I speak it into existence, he's put it out there. I've already won. Once I speak it into existence, I have already won. He gave it to me way down there. Now it's up to me to run through the path. I got to run through that path now to go get what I want. That means I got to wake up early. That means I got to stay extra time. That means during the week, not just on Sunday, I got to get on my knees, right? My kids need to see me lose. They need to see me lose. They need to see me win too, but they need to see the glory at the end. And that glory is I have followed the path. Like, I want my kids, not only my kids, but anyone that ever knows me, I want them to know that I am chasing him. I'm chasing him. So that's my identity. And I'm the dude, I'm telling you, I drive up and down this tollway, which is right behind me every day. And I can't tell you how many people walk or drive by me and like, hey, I saw you on the phone. I think you were on the phone. We were on the tollway. You were talking on the phone to somebody. No, I wasn't. I'm the dude talking out loud to God every single day on that tollway. I'm serious, man. I'm after him.
That's awesome. And then just final word. You can talk into that young Darren Woodson or that young person that's out there that is thinking that it's, my way is athletics. My way out is rap. My way out is something other than the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
What would you tell yourself or tell that young person today to pursue?
I would to pursue and how to, like a mindset. What kind of mindset you need to have?
Exactly.
Okay, so here's your mindset. Here's a mindset. If you want any type of success in your life, and if you're chasing success, is get out of the way of yourself. First of all, write it down. Know exactly what you want. Don't accept no. You sit and you look at yourself in the mirror. I don't care where it is. Write it on your mirror every day. Whatever your goal is or what you're trying to achieve, look at it every single day. Write it down every single day and you chase it. You do whatever it takes to get there. No excuses. Don't complain. You fight through who? Yourself. Because that person that's trying to stop you is that weak mind of yours. Hell, I'm a coward too. I've been there. I'm there every single day. I have to fight the coward that always says, well, go the easy way. You can be late today. You don't have to do this. Hey, be in a bad mood. It's okay. That coward needs to get out of the way, and you need to pursue your greatness.
Mic drop. That's a great incident analysis, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I lean into it.
So thank you for joining us. This has been an awesome conversation. Darren, thank you so much for
brother.
being here again. If you like what you see here, support us on social media, like what you see. Go to my website, chadhennings.com, and you can read more about some of these individuals that are forces of character that have made a big impact on me. This young man here has certainly done it. So go on, get after it, as Darren said, have the mindset, don't give up, and be that force of character. See you next time.